NAFTA's negotiation start date is August the 16th. It's certainly drawing much closer. And today we're putting the spotlight on one state, Arkansas. Canada is the natural state's top export market, moving over $1.1 billion worth of goods across the border per year. And over 66,000 jobs in Arkansas do depend on investment and trade from Canada. For more on the importance of this trade relationship, and first on BNN, we're now joined by the governor of Arkansas, Asa Hutchinson. Governor, great to be with you today. Thanks so much for joining us on this very important topic that is drawing closer and closer.
Delighted to be with you today on as you said, a very important topic for both of us.
Governor, let me understand from your perspective what the relationship is like between your state and Canada and how important the ties are.
Well, the ties are very important, both historically, but obviously economically. In the oil and gas production we share, in terms of timber resources, we both compete and share in that arena. And so, as you pointed out, Canada is our leading partner in terms of exports. But overall, whenever you look at NAFTA, Arkansas is one of those states that have benefited from the expansion of global trade. Arkansas, whether it's agriculture, whether it's timber, or whether it's aero defense products, is a major player in the global marketplace. And our message is that we've got to make sure that those global markets and reduced trade barriers are still the norm and not the exception. And so while there's going to be additional negotiation or modernization of NAFTA, it's very important that we continue that trading relationship because it's very important to states like Arkansas.
What do you think might be the tweak, the change, or perhaps the compromise surrounding those key areas for your state and also for us in Canada, timber and ag? Where might we see a change, and are you concerned?
Well, I think we have to watch it very carefully. I reviewed the parameters for the negotiation, and they really center around looking at what is the unfair practices of subsidization of the marketplace, and whether whatever the product might be. And because you don't want to raise tariffs, but you also want to have fair trading, and you don't want to have unfair subsidization that reduces the cost of goods before the market. And so I think that's something that's obviously going to be a topic of conversation. Timber has always been sensitive because we're such a great timber producer, as well as Canada being such a great timber producer. And so I'm sure that will be a topic, but I think this is an example of where neighbors hopefully can work this out as friends.
Well, and that's been so difficult in terms of really understanding where the compromise should be, because some might say it's unfair subsidies or tariffs in the timber industry, but at the same time too, we have different industries in terms of the cost bases and how we really build the businesses. So what would be the compromise? Different industries.
Well, I think, first of all, you approach it by understanding those differences. And every country helps, supports industries in different ways. You've got to look at that very carefully. Transparency is a large part of it, so we know exactly what is happening, and we're comparing apples to apples, as you say. In this case, whether it's timber or whether it's other products, I think you start with some broad principles that we don't want to have tariffs. We want to be able to, from a United States perspective, to increase our market share, our exports, because those have nationally suffered under NAFTA, even though Arkansas is still a leading export partner with both Canada and Mexico. And so I think you're going to start with a foundation that it needs to be modernized. And when I say that, a lot has changed in the last 23 years. And so it is fair to go back and look at it. I think it's important that no one get too concerned, because I think in the end, everybody's trying to achieve the same result, and that is a continued flow of commerce between our countries. And we don't jeopardize that, but let's take a relook at this and see how it should be modernized. Another point of conversation, of course, is our barriers in commerce and our border security efforts that certainly need to be harmonized. And coming from Homeland Security, I recognize the importance of that.
What do you think needs to be changed on Homeland Security? Because I thought we were making some nice headway, but do you think that there needs to be additional aspects put in place?
No, I think we have made a tremendous amount of headway. I'm delighted that Ontario continues the ability to supply, be in the supply chain for the automobile industry. That's an important part of the equation. You've just got to make sure that our border security efforts do not hamper that smooth flow of trade. And so if there's ways to modernize that and accelerate that, that's something should be a part of the conversation as well. These are matters of principle, and you've got to remember that it's Canada involved here, but it's also our other trading partners.
Absolutely. Governor, I'm curious, you did say something about really everybody being on the same page in terms of wanting to achieve similar goals, and in particular just to continue the flow of goods that we've seen in the past. But I think that's one of the big question marks for, I think, some Canadians and probably some Americans really wondering what the Trump administration's true goal is. We hear so much about the need for them to want to bring back business to America, America first. So it leaves a question mark in terms of really whether or not we truly are on the same page. Are you comfortable with the Trump administration truly being on a global trade page with everybody else?
Well, first of all, there is a legitimate concern that even though, again, Arkansas has a positive export balance, you look nationwide, and there has been a loss of manufacturing jobs. Many of those jobs have gone to Mexico. That, I believe, is starting to be reversed. But manufacturing is a national security issue. The capability of the United States having a skilled workforce, the equipment, the modernization, manufacturing is essential for our national security, for our capabilities as a nation. And so that's where President Trump is coming from. Are we on the same page? I think you have to look not just at rhetoric, but at actions. And he has been very clear that whether it's China or otherwise, we want global trade to continue. But he is a tough negotiator, and I think he's clearly saying, let's take another look at that. Somehow the United States did not get the complete fair end of the deal and wants to look at it again. I don't think that changes the broad context of global trade, continuing that partnership, but I think it's a fair time for reexamination.
Okay. Governor, great to be with you today. Thank you very much for your insight and thoughts. Appreciate it.
All right. Thank you. Good to be with you.
Thank you. You as well.